Hi, it's Jennifer Hensley with Playmaker Coaching and Consulting, and we're back again for our weekly live talking about winning plays for your business. Today, I wanted to share with you 5 takeaways or insights that I gathered from my own business that I think might apply to you or be good reminders for your business as you approach the end of the year. These are things I took away from the Idea Collective retreat at this past month that, like I said, I think are things that are going to help to really up level our businesses in the coming year. So the first one was that Julie Miller Davis said 1 hour of planning saves you 10 hours of doing. Let me say that again. 1 hour of planning saves you 10 hours of doing. That freedom comes from planning. I thought that was so powerful and something that really resonated with me about how can I spend more time, and I've been working with my team so it doesn't have to be all me, putting together the plans and the processes. The same thing I do for my clients, the plans and the processes when it comes to your marketing, so we can be more efficient, we can run better and create more scale in the new year. So that was my first takeaway: is more time planning is not a bad thing. It's actually can be a really great thing. Number 2, it is time to revise my ideal calendar. Maybe some of you try to operate an ideal calendar too and realize that there's seasons to what that ideal calendar should look like. And for me, I made some adjustments when it was kind of back to school. Well, now as I look at what my goals are and what I want to accomplish and what my priorities are for next year and how I can create more focus to really be in my zone of genius more, I realize it's time to look at those time slots that I have on my ideal calendar and make some changes. What do I really want that to be? What are the things that really give me the most energy? And how do I make sure I have focused time for my clients and bigger chunks too to help drive their marketing efforts for them as their fractional CMO? So think about your calendar as you're thinking about the new year and what's priority for you and where do you maybe need to make some shifts to a better align and support that so that we're not just shifting back and forth 500 times a day that I know I'm guilty of trying to multitask. Grew up in that generation where we were taught like multitasking is great. Well, we all know that the studies today show that that is not the case. That every time we task switch, we are so inefficient with our time. So what is your changes do you need to make to your ideal calendar? Number 3 is to reverse chunk things into smaller milestones. This made so much sense. And I think something that I do intuitively myself, but haven't really talked about as much with my team or with some of the projects that we want to move forward and how, or even my strategy time, how we can make this more meaningful. So, for instance, thinking about a newsletter that we're working on launching, really breaking it down into what are those different milestones that are going to get us to launch so that we don't just think about that big, giant, overwhelming project of like, oh, we want to launch a newsletter that keeps moving because it can be so big. Or like I said, with strategy time, saying, hey, I have strategy time on my calendar. What does that really mean? I was just talking with an advisor this morning about her time, and saying that she wanted to have time to do engagement on social media and the same thing that it felt kind of vague versus saying, hey, I want to comment on 5 people that felt very specific, very tangible about what to do with that time. So I'm thinking about that in my terms of my strategy time. Here's the key things that I'm going to do during that time rather than just saying, oh, I have strategy or work on the business time. And then we end up scheduling over that or doing other things that are not really productive to the growth of our business during that time. So, what do you need to chunk into smaller, very tangible, concrete milestones to move those efforts forward in a way that feels doable and that you can actually follow through on? Number 4, narrowing things into 3 steps. People can remember things in threes. Remember, like snap, crackle, pop. We tend to remember things very easier. And that's why phone numbers are often the 3 chunks of numbers as well. So I've thought about that in terms of some of my proposals and getting that affirmative to move forward is I want to revise some of those to more clearly talk about how we help understand where you're at today, help create the messaging and the content and the clarity that you need to move forward. And finally, how do we help you launch and maximize those efforts that we've created together? So, how do we change some of our packaging and descriptions of things to make it easier for people to very simply understand these are the three things we're going to do and what that looks like? So, I'm excited to bring that to all of you in the new year because I know my tendency, I'll admit it, is I can overcomplicate things because I like all the information. I don't always make it the simplest for other people just to very quickly understand what the benefit they get. And here's our process that we're going to take you through to get you there. So I'm excited about that. Think about that when you're working with your clients and prospects. How do you make it simple? How do you bite size it into three things? Or thinking about your own messages, here's the three things that you really do, or the three types of people that you really work with. Power of three. And number 5, the fifth thing that really resonated with me personally, and there was so much more that I've shared over the last couple of weeks, takeaways from the conference. But the fifth one is that, you wouldn't expect your CMO of a business to be the person doing it all. A CMO leads a team. And that was just a reminder to me of sometimes when I feel like, hey, I got to do it all and deliver it all for my clients, that where I can add the most value is really quarterbacking those efforts, being the playmaker, driving it all forward for them of how it fits together and the right people to do that, to help support those efforts versus me doing it all, because that is not the best use of my time or the best use of my clients' dollars. For me to be the one doing it, I can provide the most value in that quarterbacking, like I said, and really the ideas and the strategy and sharing, here's what's worked for other people that would work for them, and helping to move that to execution. It's really that in those 6 working geniuses, if you're familiar with that book, it's the discernment of what should we do. It's the tenacity to get it done, taking the 50,000 down to the 5,000, but leveraging other people to help us with some of those smaller pieces. So think about that for yourself: is what is the best use of your time? Where is your genius at? And that you don't have to do it all. What are the parts that you are really best suited to providing, but still being able to provide that solution overall to your clients in some way that's meaningful? So those were 5 things that stood out to me. I'd love to hear, for those of you that were at the Idea Collective, some things that you specifically have resonated with you that you're implementing it into your practice. We can help hold each other all accountable. Or for those of you that weren't, what of these maybe resonates with you that you want to incorporate as you're working on your systems for success in the new year? So we'll be back next Tuesday with another winning play. We hope to see you there. Have a great, wonderful Thanksgiving week with your family, friends, and loved ones. Bye.